Hey YouTube, what's going on? One of you guys made a good comment about push rod length. Name's Brent. I'm not gonna try to pronounce his last name, but anyhow, he made the comment that he'd taken and took 10 thousandths off the block, and he was wondering how it would affect his valve train geometry as far as his rocker lash and stuff. So I'm just gonna go through that here with you guys real quick. This is obviously not the motor that's in my Jeep, but it's pretty much exactly the same thing. This engine's actually out of an '03 Jeep Grand Cherokee, one I used to own that got wrecked. Uh, Ex-wife got T-boned. Anyhow, long story. Anyhow, what he's asking about is because these are non-adjustable rockers that come on these WJs, and they just basically all you have to do is I like to do it. I like to have the piston on top dead center on the compression stroke when I tighten them down, just so I know that it's on the back side of the cam on both lobes. But basically, all you have to do is torque the two bolts down, and that's it. Now, on the motor that's in my WJ that you guys have seen videos on the Beast video and all that, that block, we took 10 20 thousandths or something like that off of the block, making sure it was all straight and true. We also took 10 20 thousandths off the head. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were. It was too long ago, and my build sheet got destroyed. But anyhow, it's lost, gone, wherever. But anyhow, I didn't have any issues with it at all. One thing you need to keep in mind though is if you put anything more than like the smallest cam that comp makes for these engines, you're gonna have to take and do some valve work for your valve spring seats. So, in other words, if you have to put bigger valve springs in it, the installed height of the valve springs won't work unless you machine the valve seat lands. Mine was done by Jim Oaks at Titan Engines. There's a lot of ways to test your uh, rockers and all that stuff. Make sure your push rod, like I use stock push rods in mine, and I didn't have any issues with it whatsoever. Still haven't had any issues with it. It's got like 20,000, 30,000 miles on it now. The only issue I had with it was the harmonic balancer seal leaked, and that was due to oversight. But anyhow, and everybody asks, why didn't you put roller rockers and all that stuff on? One, they're horribly expensive. Two, they're not going to make that much power or make hardly any difference at all on a motor that only revs to 5,500, 6,000 RPM. Now, if you're going to rev the thing to 8 9,000 RPM, maybe they'll make a bigger difference. You could I put a bigger camshaft in it, so I didn't need all that extra rocker. But for ways to check and make sure you're still good, you can take and loosen these bolts out. I guess you already would have, but let's just say for explanation's sake, these are off. Measure the height of your spring, put it on, tighten it down. If the height of your spring changes, then you know you're too tight. You're going to have to add some shims in underneath here to raise it up to make up for that, 20, 30, 40, whatever, how many ever thousandths of an inch you took off between here and your camshaft to make up for it. Your other question, Brent, the stock push rods, they're the stock lifters, the ones that came with the camshaft from comp. The valve springs are a small block Chevy valve spring in mine, I'm pretty sure. Jim Oaks at Titan Engines could answer that better for you. He was the one that did that. I didn't. But anyhow, ways to test it. You could test for the height, make sure that it's not open. Now that is when that particular cylinder, not necessarily number one, but that particular cylinder is on the compression stroke, which means both lobes of the cam will be on the back side of the cam, so there'll be no lift from the cam. So both your valves should be shut. Now, you don't see anything there, and if you have a leak down the tech deal, you put your air pressure in on your spark plug hole, add air pressure. If you're hearing anything come out of either one of these ports, then you know that your valves are too tight, and you're losing compression there, or you need a valve job. But I mean, if you're going to rebuild your engine, I sure hope you're doing a valve job prior to that. So anyhow, I hope that answers your question. I'm going to do a recap video on the WJ completely. Just we haven't had any decent weather over here. It's been raining nonstop. Seems like everything's a flooded mess. There's mudslides and stuff going on everywhere, which would be a lot of fun. I could go out and play in it if I didn't have a crapped out axle again, which I'm going to have a whole video on that. Where is that busted axle anyway? Well, here's some pieces of them. There's one. I think that's the last one. There's another broken axle. That's been my biggest complaint with this WJ is it makes so much torque it just breaks the axles. Another thing that you need to keep in mind with too, if you're doing a cam swap or anything like that, with your WJ is your timing setup. There's two different setups for these. This is the original. This is all stock. There's nothing been done to this motor at all besides it's just been cleaned up. It's going to get regasketed and repurposed in another WJ that a buddy of mine's got. But see, I converted mine. It has the older style timing set. It actually has the bolt with a spring and dimple in it in the front to help keep the cam gear in place. This one actually has a retaining plate behind it. Same with the one in mine. But anyhow, I digress. You need to make sure that all that lines up and works properly together. And honestly, your best resource for that is going to be Jim Oakes at Titan Engines. I don't remember all that stuff. I had it all written down in a build sheet, and all that stuff was down. And long story short, it's gone, lost forever. So, but anyhow. That's pretty much all I got for that. But yeah, if you shouldn't have any problem if you only took, 20, 30, maybe even, 40 thousandths. You'd probably be good to 50 thousandths of an inch, because that lifter's got a lot of movement in it. And because that's one of the good things about having the hydraulics, But the other thing you want to make sure, this is of course a stock setup, but push rod moves, but it will not move up and down. You don't hear it chattering or anything like that. That's the way you want them. Same with this one, won't move up and down. This motor has been sitting for years, so obviously the lifters are completely collapsed all the way down. None of them are pumped up or anything. That's why it looks like every single lobe or every single valve is closed, which probably it is, but as long as you're not taking too much off, you shouldn't have any problems with it whatsoever. And I would suggest just sticking with these style rockers. You're not going to save that much horsepower or gain that much horsepower by putting, $600 worth of rockers on your engine. I know there's some kind of mod you can do, and you can take and grind these down, and you can put studs in, and then you can put a big block Chevy rocker on it and all this jazz. I never researched all that. Honestly, I was pretty much out of money by the time that I got to that point. I didn't really care. I just wanted the engine together, and I wanted to be reliable. And at the time, all I knew of was you could get those aluminum rocker arms for them, and I'm not a real big fan of running aluminum rocker arms on a daily driver. I'd rather run stainless steel. Just my personal preference, I guess, but I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it deflecting or anything like that, or having valve lash issues or anything like that down the road and then wind up having to take the motor apart or any of that kind of stuff. I didn't want to have to deal with any of that. I wanted simple reliability, and that's why I went with the factory style rocker setup, which has worked great. I mean, the motor, I've literally had no issues with the engine at all. It's ran great. I don't even think I've had to change the spark plug out of the thing. Yeah, but anyhow, more to come on that with the recap video. But anyhow, I hope that answers your question, Brent. Thanks for your comment. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll put a link down in the comments below for for my affiliate link to some push rods and some other parts and stuff that I recommend. Uh, See if I can find the factory style camshaft replacement that where you can have a camshaft in it, make more top end power, but won't have to go and do all the work to make your valve springs work. But whatever you do, do not put a stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 camshaft on these stock rockers and our stock valve springs. It won't, just will not work out. You'll wind up, it'll sound great, all that stuff. It'll be lopey as hell, and the next thing you know, you're going to break a valve spring and ruin your motor. Just, yeah, don't do it. For more information on exactly, what you can and can't get away with and all that, like I said, call Jim Oakes at Titan Engines. That guy knows everything there is to know about these 4.4 liter engines, and they're really not that complicated once you learn all the little specifics. But anyhow, so I hope that answers your question, Brent. Anyhow, thanks, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. Thank you.